Hi everybody, this is Pat Huntoon from Technique Junkies, and today I'm going to show you how to mask off images that are super small. So what we're working with today is SD 704 Don't Lose Faith, and it is this great image of two hands holding a world with the words, "You must not lose faith in humanity. Humanity is an ocean. If a few drops of the water is dirty, the ocean does not become dirty," which is a great wonderful saying, but it's not really what I'm trying to convey this time. I'm trying to convey a message of respecting one another and peace. So I want the hands and the world, but I don't want the words, and I want to use respect one another. I want to use these respect one another words from SS 131, acceptance, respect, peace. So these words, and I'm going to actually put them below the hands, so you can see how I'm going to do that. In my background today, I'm releasing this stamp called Dutch Colonial Map, S131. It's something that was in the line when I purchased the line, but I didn't ever release it, and it is awesome. It is a nice big stamp. It makes for a beautiful map background, and you'll see me using this a lot, but this is available for purchase, and I'll put these 3 stamps in a little kit for you so that if you like them, you can buy the kit. Okay, so those are the stamps we're using today, all from Technique Junkies. To start, I'm using a Misty, but you can use whatever stamp positioner you have and a white piece of cardstock. Make sure you have a magnet so you can hold things in place. For this technique, I'm using an imaging sheet. So this is from an old handheld stamp positioner, and I kept all of the sheets. You can see it still says imaging sheet included, and look how nice and clean it is. Don't be too impressed. I just cleaned it off 30 seconds ago. But keep all of these sheets. If you don't have an imaging sheet like this, you can take the clear packaging from anything that has clear packaging. Clean it off, make sure it's nice and flat, and use that. And then just clean it off every time and use the acetate from that. You just want a nice corner on it that you can fit into the corner of your stamp positioner. So I'm actually putting that down. I'm going to hold that down right now with my bar magnet. I'm going to hold it down in that corner. And then I'm going to line the stamp up. So this is the Don't Lose Faith stamp. And I am actually not going to make this as big as this card. So I'm going to put this at the top. And then I'm going to take the respect one another. Actually, I just want to make sure I have room for that. So I know I have room. I'm going to leave that off for now, and I'll do that secondarily. So this allows me to know where to stamp this particular piece. So I'm going to close my stamp positioner, my Misty, and realign this because I want to make sure my hands are evenly, I want to make sure they're nice and even. So that when I do the second part of the stamping, it's all good. So that's all good. So now that this sheet is on here, I can stamp on this sheet. You can use any black ink or any darker ink so that you can see what you're doing there. So then you're going to place a piece of Post-it note, and I'm going to put it along the top of my stamp. If you're unsure about where this is going to stamp onto your acetate sheet, and you can use that as a guide. But I know from experience that is not quite wide enough. I think I need to make it just a little bit to the right here. And I'm going to stamp that. All right, so what I'm going to do is take these and cut these 2 pieces out. These 2 pieces right here. They're rather small, so I will cut them and I will be right back to you. Okay, so I have my pieces cut out. And I'm going to get a removable adhesive because I did not stamp those in such a way that the sticky part was on that part of the stamp. That's not a big deal. I just need to grab a removable adhesive. This is just a mono removable adhesive. If you don't have that, just take a piece of washi tape and fold it over and put it on there. And I'm going to set these aside. Now I want to show you a couple of things about when I cut this out. If you notice here, that loose and the arm there, that's the trickiest place. You just have to make sure that you don't cut any part of that line off. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good stamping of that. You want to get as close to the lose as you can, the L in lose as you can. Same thing on the Y on humanity. And maybe these words down here, but not so much. This is really the side. And if you notice, I put that over the top, when that stamps, it won't stamp into that at all. Okay, so I'm going to be putting it over there, and it won't stamp into it. And the same thing with this one, you'll be able to stamp and not lose your lines of the actual stamp. So let me show you what we're going to do. First thing I'm going to do is put adhesive on this right away, so I don't forget when I get excited. Just set those to the side. You can discard this. And now I'm actually going to stamp this stamp onto the imaging sheet. And I didn't re-ink this. I'm hoping there's enough ink there so I can see what to do. All right, so I didn't re-ink it. Can you see it there? Let me just zoom in there so you can see it a little bit better. There you go. So you can see it there, and this is all in the corner. So right now, what I'm going to do is put removable adhesive on this side for the time being. Now, I'll leave it where it is. So what I'm going to do is take this piece, and I'm lining this up. I did lift this up, and I'm lining that up. I'm making sure that that is perfectly aligned. And like I said, I have just the tiniest bit of adhesive on this. If my fingers would cooperate. And then I'm going to press this down. What that does is it'll press it down on the paper. And I removed the ink off of there, so let me just wipe my finger off. And the same thing with this one. I want to put just the tiniest bit of adhesive on here so I can attach this to the top. And I'm going to make that unsticky on top, quite unsticky. And I want to attach this one here. You want to make sure you have enough removable adhesive on there so that it'll stick to the paper, stick to the plastic, but you don't want so much on there that it will not stick to your paper in the back, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to press that down firmly. So now that'll stick to the paper and not to the sheet. There we go. And then this is what I suggest you do. I suggest you wipe this sheet off. And before you actually stamp the paper, stamp again. Because you want to make sure that this is perfect so you don't have to be, you're not doing this again. You could, of course, reuse those pieces, but why do that if you don't have to? Okay, so now, there we go. Now in the stamps, you can see that the masks are in the proper place. So now I'm going to actually stamp on the paper. So I'm going to ink this with my Memento. The only reason I'm using Memento is because I've chosen to color the image itself with Copic marker. So I needed something that was Copic friendly. This is only 80-pound Nina Solar white cardstock. If you're looking for something to press your piece down, you can always use a brayer with that. I do that frequently. So I just use a brayer a little bit. And I have a pretty good inking there. So let's take these off. And as you can see, that has now been removed. Now I can take the stamp out of the stamp positioner, line up my Respect One Another stamp. Perfect. So now I have a piece that has the hands and the Respect One Another. I'm going to color this quickly. I'm going to put it on quick time, and then we'll do the background, and you have a completed card. I do want to note to show you, I do have a smudge down here, and I'm just going to cut that off. Happens to all of us. I'm going to wipe my fingers down before I start coloring, but I will put the coloring in fast time. I want to show you one more thing before I start coloring. And see that smudge there? That's going to drive me insane. So rather than leaving that smudge, I have this sand and rubber eraser, this mono sand and rubber eraser. I will try to get them in stock. I'm not sure when, but I will try to get them in stock. But all you do is you kind of just go over that a little bit with the gray end. And then the white end. Just try to pick that up just a little bit so it's not quite so noticeable. So you can see, you can barely see it now. Just going to go over that a couple of times. You don't want to rub too much off because you don't want to remove the paper, but you just want to get enough off that you can really not see it. So this little thing is amazing. It doesn't work on giant spots. Oh, I take that back. Yes, it does. Although this part will probably be cut off, but you can really see how this little mono eraser, it's like magic. I love this thing. Had it for a good long time. I usually go through my pieces before I take photographs of them, and I erase things that don't belong. But look how beautiful that is. That's just going to be a beautiful card, you can already tell. Let's get coloring. So this Dutch colonial map is actually 6 by 5, I think by 5, or yeah, 4 3/4. So it's quite big. It's actually bigger than the piece of cardstock that I want to stamp it on. So when that happens, I can't use a magnet in my Misties to tack it down. So what I'm going to do is, and this is a full piece of card, so I want to make sure that I have a piece of tape rounded in there. And I want to make sure I take a piece of tape or two. Actually, I could probably get 2 out of this. And make those little circles. Remember doing these as kids when you would tack things down? You're going to do the same thing here, because you want to be able to restamp this if you need to, if you don't get a good stamping the first time out. So now I'm just going to put this down and just like that, and then I'll hold it firmly in place without my magnet. And the reason I'm putting it up here is that I want to get this edge to edge on here. So I'm just going to put this down. My stamp looks very odd because this was one of the first stamps I ever had, and I took it off of a piece of wood, and I didn't remove this when I took it off the wood, and I should have, this black line here. So it doesn't matter. Yours does not have that. Yours is a perfectly brand new stamp on cling mounted, and a piece of cling mount. Then I'm just going to ink this up and stamp it. Okay, so now I have that stamped, at least stamped well enough. I could go back over that again if I so choose, but I think I'm just going to leave it just like that. So I think I am going to take my cut down piece, which is this, and mount it on black. That mounted, and then put that on the piece, and we have a done card. And let me show you how the tape is going to come right off that. Now you could, of course, mount this background too, but I chose to make it all one piece card. So there's my card. See how it easily lifts off there. And I can open this up, and I can take one of these other, I think I'm going to stamp that on the inside, and my card is finished. That is the end of our tutorial today, how to mask out small images like that. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give me a thumbs up on YouTube and consider subscribing to the Technique Junkie channel. I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching today.